All right, so could Bitcoin be on its biggest run yet, with some big news hitting the market and a bullish sign coming out? My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Tech Path. Mr. Evan Aldo, you've got a big chart in front of you right now.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it.
there's a path. There's a path to some very high numbers in the next month.
If you guys jumped in or linked in because of that 90K, we actually have something here that might end up supporting what PlanB has been talking about, which was the 98K. We don't necessarily think it's there, but I like your chart a little bit better, even though I do like the stock to flow model. However, there are other things afoot here, and one of them is this news right here with SoftBank and Alphabet joining in at $700 million investment in Digital Currency Group. If you guys don't know who DCG is, essentially this is the company that runs CoinDesk. Along with many other aspects, they're investing heavy into the crypto space, but $700 million coming over from these kinds of investors is a big, big move in the space when you look at Bitcoin as pretty much the leading dog and just the overall approach. Because if Bitcoin, the way Bitcoin goes, the way the media goes, when you look at different media, whether you look at Decrypt Media or you look at someone like DCG and what's happening with obviously CoinDesk out there, but the fact that we've got SoftBank and Google with Alphabet coming in at 700 million, this is a big, big, I think, bullish, design of where this is going. So, and don't think this is just like a one-hit wonder for what SoftBank is doing. SoftBank has invested in big companies in the tech field for a long time, including companies like Uber, et cetera. But if you look at their portfolio, look here on the fintech side. I just want to look at some of the companies that they're into. So eToro, you guys recognize that. FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried coming in. And then of course now with Klarna's in there. Here's M1 Finance, which we've actually had them on the show. And of course now with what we're seeing with Digital Currency Group coming in as well. So lots of companies. There's Revolut right there. They are in the fintech side in a big way, and I think DCG will be another expansion, for them in terms of where media is going. Now, can this drive Bitcoin or things like this? I mean, you're talking about almost $1 billion moving into the space to support the industry for DCG.
Big news.
So, where do you see the chart taking this thing?
So, there's a few different ways it could go, but there's one thing that I've been looking that doesn't happen too often. So if you look at my chart, and this is the monthly, and obviously the green dots here, every candlestick is a monthly area. So we had this green dot just confirm a little while ago. We're on to the next one. The last time we had a green dot confirm, we went up about from here to here. This is about 600%. That's not 700%. That's not happening. But we could go up, maybe up to 90K, maybe something like that. I've drawn up some fib levels, and what I like too is on the 3-day here. This is rare. This is a rare bullish signal on the 3-day. Look at here. So you have a potential money flow crossover into the green on the 3-day. If we do have a scenario, and the VWAP is coming up as well right here, you're going to print a green dot. If we do have a scenario where, we come up from that and really go parabolic a little bit, I've drawn out some fib levels into price discovery mode, where we could end up. One is at 72K, the 1.618 fib level, as you can see. The next one is the 2.618 fib level. This is at 81K. And the next one after that, 91K at 3.61. And the maximum I could see in my chart is the 4.236 fib level at 96.7K. Crazy.
So this is looking at a pretty heavy upside for the month of November based on what we're seeing in terms of just general charting out on this. Evan, when you look at these kinds of, because that'll be a pretty aggressive move, obviously. We're talking about, 45, 60%. What would be the range on that?
That would be, let's see our percentage. If we go to the highest possible area here, it would be about a 57% increase.
Yeah. So that kind of move, obviously we've seen big news happening. Where do you think the psychological effects will start to trigger, both on people taking profits and potentially mainstream FOMOing in? Do you think it's a 75K, 90K, or the 100K?
I think definitely a lot of people are going to take profits at these particular levels. 70K is going to be a big psychological area. People may be FOMO'd in at 67K, don't want the stress, they'll get out at 72K.
Right.
After that, it's going to be every 10K increment, probably 80K, 90K, all the round numbers. When we get up close to 100, I think a lot of people are going to sell. That's why the 96 may be a pullback. I don't think the mainstream real FOMO, the hardcore FOMO, mainstream retail FOMO is going to happen until after 100K. Because when we have 100K, we're going to have so many, it's going to be front page news everywhere. I think some people will sell, obviously, but I think the mainstream retail FOMO is going to output that, and we're going to go well above 100K before we
So the likelihood of, and this is what everybody talks about often, is just the amount of sideline capital right now that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So sideline capital, we've seen the Bitcoin ETF from, the future side of things. We haven't seen a spot ETF yet, even though many people do believe that might be coming even this year. With that kind of scenario, with whether it's family offices, high net worth individuals moving in, or just man on the street type of scenario, jumping in on Coinbase or something very simple to operate, or just to jump in on this, you feel like 100K is the number where we start to see mainstream really start to affect this?
I think so, yeah. I think that's the point. For all those reasons. I mean, there's too much bullish news right now.
Yeah.
There's so much bullish news.
Well, and you get, gosh, SoftBank and Alphabet jumping into digital currency group. This, I think, is one of the, the key leading indicators. When you look at PlanB, and this is something he just brought back out 18 hours ago, just as a reminder on just where he's going on this. His August number, 47K, check. His September 43K, check. But his October number was a little bit slightly under, but he's got the 61K. This was a 3% rounding error, he said, okay. So close enough for me. Next target's November 98K and December 135. Right now, December 135, what are your thoughts there?
The way I see it, I'll say two things about PlanB. Usually whenever someone's been right, so much for such a long time, they're due to be wrong. And then the psychological component of that, people will counter trade. So I see the market cycle going a bit longer than December. I think it'll go into sometime in 2022, 130K by December. I hate to be a bear, but I think that's a little bit too optimistic for that. I think it'll be later that we'll see. I could see maybe 98K, maybe 100. I think if we go up, say we go crazy, parabolic up to 96K in November, we're going to have a pullback, at least something. And it could be, it could be a crazy pull. It could be a 50% pullback.
Well, I think, and even to my own prediction is the 100K by end of year. That I would call that, in the sense that if we hit 98K in November, or even somewhere close to that, then essentially that's kind of what my position has been. I'm not necessarily looking at December as our all-time high, but it definitely has an opportunity if we don't hit the big number in November. Meaning, if let's say we bump along in the 60s and potentially there's some more good news that come out, this pushes it to 75. We start to get that resistance because we're going to see it at 75. That slows Bitcoin down until early December. And then we might see a potential run on it before the end of the year. Those are some scenarios that could still get us more late in the season, but yet much more conservative in where PlanB is going. So, but your thoughts, Evan, when you look at the current bull cycle, I mean, you were here in the 2017 run, so you've seen these cycles now come and go. What are your thoughts on similarities here with this cycle as opposed to what happened in 2017?
It looks like, well, compared to 2017, it looks different. I think it looks a little bit more like 2013 in the place that you went into a mini bear market. It looks like a much longer version of 2013. If anyone watching isn't familiar, every bull cycle has been longer than the previous one.
Right.
Which is why I think we're going to go into 22, at least into February, March, I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Earliest, maybe you could repeat 2017, peak out and then December, January. I doubt it, because history doesn't repeat exactly. That's too predictable. So I think it's going to go longer, and I think it's going to be more of that scenario. On my weekly chart right here, I could show you the way I usually map it out. It's something like this with my, you would go here, here. I think you'll get high on the weekly before the top out.
Right.
This path leads you until around February. Maybe this would be the end of November. Say we top out, maybe we top out in the high 90s, end of November. Then we come down a good bit. You come down to 70. Then you come out over 100 by the end of December. Then you have a blip where everyone thinks it's over. You come maybe back down to 70, maybe something crazy back down to 60, but then you have one last hurrah to 150, maybe even 200.
So that would
Yeah.
be a scenario where it does extend into 2022
Yeah.
for at least in a good distance. That, of
Yeah.
course, also has a lot of impact on the rest of the market because it does push altcoin season
Yeah.
into more like end of Q1 as opposed to what could be January, which a lot of people have been kind of anticipating with going on that. Good stuff to know. And I think I like the fact that Plan B is so. One, for him to be right back up there at, I mean, you got to think about this. If you look back at where this was last month in September at 43, 30 days later, we close at 61. And now his point is back to the 98. So maybe we are just a little bit more conservative.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to predict more long term, but it's possible. The thing with Plan B is I see him. He's been right so much. I just don't see this guy being the messiah who's gets it exactly on the top. That's just not. People are going to counter trade. That's just not how it. That's just not how it works.
Well, I think that's kind of the scenario you have to worry about, especially when you get the influencers going in the marketplace, because you are going to see counter trades happening with a market that's still under 3 trillion. Because that's still very. And you guys know this if you're watching this show. There's manipulation. I mean, we already see manipulation in gold, manipulation in stocks.
Yep.
The likelihood for a $3 trillion market cap, like what we're dealing with right now, even though if that doubles up to 6 trillion, we're still only half the size of gold out there in the marketplace. So lots of definite things to watch in terms of how Bitcoin is going to be moving. All right, very cool. All right, you guys are tuned in over on the podcast. Make sure, and of course, give us some likes over there. We appreciate it, of course, if you join us over here on the Diamond Circle, which is free to you, and it's going to be giving away digital asset rewards and also dropping additional analysis that will drop into the channel there on Diamond Circle. Join, just click the link below. If you guys want to reach me, just hit me up on Twitter. It's @PaulBaron. Don't forget, by the way, live stream tomorrow, 3 p.m. We're giving away some cool stuff. You don't want to miss it. We'll catch you then.